Hey y'all, today on the farm we're gonna do something I have never ever done before. I planted my soybeans this year on April the 20th. Last year I planted them on May the 1st. And last year I had a 76 bushel average across the farm. That's a good average in soybeans, especially for where I'm at. But there are people here in South Georgia that break the 200 bushel mark on soybeans. There's multiple farmers have broke 200 bushels on soybeans. That's not normal. It's not happening commonly, but multiple farmers have broke the 200 bushel mark on beans, and they plant their beans in late April. So instead of doing May 1st like last year when I had a good yield, I bumped it up to April 20th. And last year I was planting beans right over yonder on some brick red clay. It's hard to get a good bean stand in brick red clay, but I was able to do it. This year I rotated them into my only field I have that has sand in it, a sandy field. And I said, man, I'm gonna have a perfect yield. I'm gonna plant early like the high yield guys do. We're gonna put them in that sand, we're gonna get a real good stand, and we're gonna be off to the races. Well, not so fast. I had some rows do like this where it looks like every seed come up, and then the row right beside it you have a gap. And I do have a few of them still coming up. Here's one that just came out, and there's one that just came out. There's still a few of them trying to come, but there's one right there that was going to come out later today or maybe tomorrow. But this the stand's not acceptable. There's too many plants out here to do away with them and start over, but there's too many gaps out here to get a good yield, to get a 70 bushel yield. So I'm gonna leave these rows out here, these 36-inch rows, and I'm gonna follow here with a grain drill and plant these row middles. The first thing we're going to do is modify this grain drill so that I don't run over or cut up the existing rows. I'm gonna pick up the rows that are right where the current rows are, the 36-inch rows. I'll pick this unit up so it's not plowing up the stand I already have, and I'll leave these rows down that run out here in the middle. So I'll let them plant, I'll pick these up. The way I'm gonna do that, I'll park on the row, I'll take my yellow paint, I'll mark that one and that one, and I know to pick them up. I've brought the drill back to my shop now, and I'm gonna vacuum it out. There's a little bit of sun hemp seed left in it. My dad's been planting some deer food plots with sun hemp, and I'm putting some in the woods around the fields to try to keep the deer out of the fields so my crop can at least get started. So I'm gonna vacuum out any remaining seed that may be in there, and I gotta stop up the tubes above these row units that we're gonna be picking up, because we don't want to be pouring seed out when those row units are picked up. So I'm gonna stop up some tubes and vacuum out the whole grain drill. There is a fair amount of plants out here, especially right here where I'm at right now. But with all those gaps in the rows, you know, sporadic gaps, that brings my overall population down. If you want a good yield, the key is a good stand. All the fertility and all the irrigation moisture in the world is useless without a good stand. If you don't have a good stand, you're starting off behind the 8 ball already. You get a good stand first, worry about that, and once you have a good stand, then you know, other factors such as fertilizer, fertility, or moisture, you know, those are very important. Disease control, all that stuff's important, but without a good stand, it really don't matter. So I want to have 105,000 plants per acre. Right now I'm probably sitting at 70,000, and 70,000 is too many to do away with. Some areas in this field have a perfect stand, but 75,000 is not enough, or 70, 75 is not enough to make a good yield. It's enough to make a poor yield, maybe an average yield. I want a good yield. I want an average yield. I want a real good yield. And so the key is to get a lot of plants out here So in between each one of these 36-inch rows, I'm laying off 3 rows with the grain drill. So it'll be 3 rows close together, and then there's a 36-inch row, and then there's 3 rows close together, and then there's a 36-inch row. The higher your plant population, the less weed control you have to do. The high plant population is in itself weed control. So if you can get a good stand out here and get the ground covered with your crop, whether it be corn or soybeans or peanuts or cotton or whatever it is you're growing, if you can shade out the ground quickly with your crop, then there's less need for herbicides. So getting a good stand is absolutely crucial to any operation. That is the #1 A1A most important thing when farming. Start out with a good stand. This is a prime example of what we're working with out here. Great stand, great stand, great stand, gap, gap, gap. We can't have gaps. We cannot have gaps in the row. Cannot have that. And see the row right there beside it, perfect stand, perfect stand. We can't have these gaps. This is why we're overseeding right here. Change of plans, change of plans. Daddy jumped on the soybean rig. It has got just barely dry enough to start back planting peanuts, and it's supposed to start raining before daylight in the morning. It's gonna rain from Friday morning, 6 a.m. until Sunday, which means not gonna be able to plant peanuts for a whole nother week. So I gotta get this planted. So I'm gonna plant peanuts until we get all this planted. I still have a little bit over there left to plant, but it's too wet over there still to do that side. I'll get what done I can get done in these little breaks between the rains. But now I gotta make some adjustments on my planters. When I was planting this before, where the ground had got kind of hard on us before all this rain started coming in, so we had all the tension down pressure on the planter, and we were putting them a little bit deep. I'm going to take it out of the ground a little bit, and I'm going to take the tension off the planter. This is the 4th different peanut seed provider I've dealt with this season. Let's open them up and see what they look like. Not bad. I got a few splits, but all in all, it's not terrible. It's not as good as Tipton peanut. I tell you, Tipton peanut does a real good job, but I mean, this is okay. I got none of those gonna come up. There's another one that's broke, but it's not the worst I've ever seen. It's fair enough. That's fair enough. In some of these bags, I'm getting a lot of loose skins. So you'll see some skins here. When you get to the end, there'll be a lot of loose skins come rolling out of the bag. If you got a lot of loose skins in there, and sometimes you'll have some bare nuts with no skin on them, that means they were dried at too high of a temperature. Not that they were dried too long or too much moisture was removed, but during the drying process, the temperature was too high, and that'll cause them to shrink fast and the skin will come off. You don't want the skin to come off. I mean, they'll still germ, just not as good. It's preferable that the skin stay on. If you dry it too long, remove too much moisture, you dry it too far, then you get splits. These don't germinate, these don't come up. You don't want to dry them too far, and you also don't want to dry them too quick because they will lose their skin. Today is a prime example of typical farm life. I had no idea when I woke up this morning or when I went to bed yesterday that I would be planting. that I'd be planting peanuts or soybeans. I had a few other things on the agenda, but the conditions happened to get right kind of late afternoon. We started planting soybeans around 3 o'clock. You know, it's 6:30 now. I'm just starting on the peanuts. You have to deal with weather with farming, and if you got a window when you can get something done, you got to jump out there and do it. It was too wet to plant either of those this morning, but there's no clouds, very few clouds. Had a lot of overhead sun, a lot of direct sun, a little bit of breeze, and so it dried the ground out as the day went on, and we're able to get out there and do these 2 different plantings I've been needing to do. And this is so typical with farming. There is no norm. There's no normal. You don't know what you're going to be doing each day or one day for the next, and what you're doing during the day may change halfway through the day or 2/3 way through the day. You're always adapting, always changing, constantly evolving. No 2 days on the farm. I think I'm 42. I was born in '81, so I think I'm about 42 right now. I don't keep up with it, but I think I'm 42. But anyway, in those 42 years, there's not been 2 days on the farm that are the same. Every one of them are different. You can see those 06 G's breaking ground right there. There's a big pond that's not supposed to be in the field. Still pretty wet over there on that side. The last bag of the day. On the final few rows here, but this little spot in this field is low and it's brick red, and usually a lower spot won't be red, a high spot will be red, but it's a low spot that's red. And the problem with having a low red spot is they hold moisture, so it's hard not to have this if you have a low red spot. On a high red spot, we can get rid of these, but on a low red spot where moisture sits and stays in the ground, you get these. Well, those and planters don't mix. See here, we get clod stuck right here. And that clod gets stuck in between those cotton discs and it leaves my row uncovered. There's peanut seeds showing, there's peanuts. So I gotta go through here, cover this row back up with my feet. Been praying for wisdom for a long time. I pray every morning to the Lord, Lord, please help me to make the right decisions and give me wisdom. And things kept not going right, you know, stuff like these cotton discs grabbing these clods, and I had to get out here and cover the row up. Or maybe I plant something a week or two too early and you don't get a good stand. All sorts of various things. I keep praying for wisdom. And then I realized we learn through our mistakes. So in order to be wise, to have a lot of wisdom, you got to make a lot of mistakes. That's how you gain that knowledge. And so I didn't realize it. I was praying for wisdom and the Lord was educating me the whole time. I got the tractor backed into the shed to where it's gonna be safe from the rain. I saw Daddy was still planting them soybeans when I come by, so I'm gonna go by and make sure that irrigation's walked out of his way. He can finish up, make sure he don't need anything out there. And I gotta go get the seed trailer and that truck, bring them back them under the barn so everything is safe and secure from the rain. I thank all of y'all for watching. Hope to see you next time.